The boy was visiting his family when he accidentally discovered that his cousin, who graduated from a prestigious university and has a good figure and looks, was willing to give his paralyzed grandfather a free caregiver every day to take care of his shit and urine. At first, the boy was a bit contemptuous, thinking that she was too pretentious and loved to show off her filial piety. Until the day of his grandfather's death, he was only given a silver belt. Then he realized that his grandfather had given his entire inheritance and the villa worth millions of dollars to his cousin, who had always taken care of him. Shocked, Jack remembered his grandmother, who also lived alone and had a house. The idea of $1 million a year job came to his mind. A few days ago, Jack's mom told him that his grandma had been diagnosed with stage 4 intestinal cancer and had only 1 year to live, and she hoped that as a grandson, she could visit her more often. At that time, he didn't even want to listen for a second because he was playing a game, but now he had discovered a fortune hidden in his family's love. So the next morning Jack came to the door of his grandmother's house. The first thing he did was to take a picture of her house and pretend to sell it on the internet. When he found out that the house was worth $1 million, he started to fantasize about his happy life as a rich man. Grandma also found his arrival to say that the first uncle and second uncle also just came to wonder what is going on. Grandma didn't think twice about opening the door and letting Jack in. Jack immediately took his own carefully prepared beef soup to make a good impression on the grandmother, but it was not to be. He could only start with the quinine, which Grandma respected most, and tried to prepare some tea to show his sincerity. But after dropping out of school, he only played video games at home, so he didn't know how to please the elders. And the grandma found out right away that he was sneaking around, so Jack was kicked out of the house by his grandma within half an hour. But for the sake of his dream of becoming rich, Jack can only bring gifts to his cousin to learn how he became the know. One heir as a granddaughter over his grandfather's children, finally given the secret to winning. Jack sold his only valuable property to stay in grandma's house for good. He sells his only valuable computer and buys a few things that grandma can use in a red packet to come to grandma's house again. But to her, the sudden concern of her children was even more confusing. Perhaps she was touched by this filial piety. Jack was so happy that he jumped up and down in order to pursue his offer. He offered to help his grandma sell kanji at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. When he woke up, the sun was already blazing. Luckily, he was able to make it to the last minute of the kanji sale. On her way home, she passed by a friend's house and noticed she was wearing a hat. When she asked, she realized that her friend also had cancer, but she hadn't even seen her relatives and looked at her with envy in her eyes. Jack was so happy that he thought he had a place in his grandmother's heart. But the next day when he went to the bank to deposit his money, Jack was stopped by his grandmother like a thief. This made Jack very depressed. What's more, the next day Jack realized that his grandma was dressed up. After a few inquiries, he realized that today was the day of the family reunion. But Jack didn't know that because he didn't hang out with his grandma. Maybe he knew that she was running out of time. This time, there's an unusually large crowd. Grandma was so happy that she took out the cards she hadn't played for a long time and wanted to play a few rounds. But her two uncles said they had to leave after dinner. Grandma seemed to understand what they were afraid of. The first uncle, who had a successful career, said he knew a famous doctor who would surely cure her. Second uncle, who was heavily in debt, also said he'd do his best to install a handrail in the toilet to prevent her from falling. Even the eldest uncle's daughter said she'd learn medicine when she grows up and cure her grandmother. It's obviously a very sweet scene, but Jack is very uneasy.